All right, go ahead and grab your note sheet and follow along. Today, hopefully, as you're going along, we're going to try and color coordinate some of what we're doing. So try to have at least a purple and a blue if you can, and if you can't, then just filling in the doodle notes as we go and then going through and coloring in at a later time. So today we're just going to talk about the coordinate plane and just a very introductory what it is and things like that. The coordinate plane is a plane that is made up of two intersecting number lines. One of those number lines is horizontal and the other is vertical. When we're looking at those number lines, our horizontal one, or the one that goes along with the horizon, is our x-axis. And then our other one is our vertical, which is our y-axis. One thing to note as you're going through this is that it is possible to graph points that are actually on the x or the y-axis. If they're on the y-axis, are always going to look like a 0 and then a number. And then if they are on the x-axis, are going to be the number and 0. So those are our two main parts of the coordinate plane. Along with that, there is this point in the middle, and it is called our origin. And it's origin because that is where everything starts, and it is the point 0, 0. The other thing I want us to note on the coordinate plane is that we have, if you notice, it's separated into 4 different sections. Each of those sections is what's called a quadrant. So this first one is what we call quadrant 1. And they're actually labeled with Roman numerals, so it's going to look like quadrant I. And points in this quadrant are always going to be positive, positive. And then we go in a counterclockwise direction. So quadrant 2 which looks like quadrant II, is going to be a negative and a positive value. Now I know in science class you probably just mainly worked in quadrant 1 because typically most real life data is only graphed in quadrant 1. When you start working with more mathematical data, you get into some of the other stuff, but a lot of it is just like if you think about distance and time can never be negative values, and so they're always going to be up in that quadrant 1. Quadrant 3 is down here in the corner. And these values are always going to be negative, negative. And then our last one is quadrant 4. And these ordered pairs are going to be positive and negative. All right? So those are the main parts of our coordinate plane. Part of what we do with the coordinate plane, and the reason we use it, is to plot points so we can look at data and analyze information in a visual way instead of just looking at a bunch of random numbers put together. So when you are graphing or plotting points, one thing that you want to remember is that the ordered pair is always going to identify a point and contains the x and y coordinate. So if we go down here, our x coordinate is always listed first. Oops. It's kind of like if you think about it in terms of alphabetical order. X comes first in the alphabet, the x coordinate comes first. So in this case, our x coordinate is 7, and then our y coordinate would be -6. Okay. So when we're going to plot points, we are going to start at the origin, because origin means starting point, and then we are going to count out the x coordinate, and then from there you're going to count out the y coordinate. All right. So for example, if we were to plot the point 7, -6, the first thing we would do is count out our x. So I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, because it was +7. And then the next thing I would do is I would go down -6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that is why we have the point 7, -6 right there. All right, so now what I would like you to do is pause the video and see if you can fill in the ordered pairs for the other 3 points that are plotted on here. All right, if we start in the lower left corner and we count out to this one, what we're going to have is we're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I went in a negative direction, or to the left, so our x value is going to be -6. And then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and we went down, so that would be -9. So -6, -9. For this next point, I'm going to count over 1, 2, so we went over -2, because we're still going to the left. But on this one, we're only jumping up 1, so it's going to be +1. On this last point, I'm going +1, and then from there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and +9 because we went up. So down here, we want to remember that right and up are positive movements and left and down are negative movements. So here, remember that quadrant pairs or ordered pairs in quadrant 1 are going to be positive, positive. In quadrant 4, they're going to be positive and negative. Quadrant 3 is going to be negative and positive, and quadrant 2 is going to be negative and positive, and quadrant 3 is going to be negative and negative. The plural of axis is axes, which looks like axes. And then the last thing we just want to highlight today is just that we are going to try and plot the point 3, -2. So why don't you pause the video, see if you can plot 3, -2 on your paper, thinking about what we talked about, and then check based on what I do. All right, hopefully you plotted 3, -2. So I'm going to start at the origin, and then I'm going to count over +3. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and then my next movement is going to be -2. So I'm going to go down 2, which means this point would be right there.